addressing currently the massive social media outage, mainly featured on Meta programs or Meta products. So that's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's Threads.
And this is Super Tuesday.
Yes, and obviously there hasn't been an answer yet. There was a statement that was put out by Meta spokesman Andy Stone on X, which again is kind of ironic. He is having to go to another social media platform to make this statement. It said, "We're aware people are having trouble accessing our services. We are working on this now." Obviously, they're going to be working at it pretty hardcore. I just got a message on Facebook. I think Facebook is starting to repopulate, come back to life, if you will. But could not be a worse time unless this was the general election day. But I think this also should put a warning out to the social media platforms, even if this wasn't something nefarious, to be extra careful when it comes to election day this November.
I was going to ask you this. I think this would be helpful for our audience. So the social media presence now, I mean, for our platforms, it's one of our biggest outlet now is all these different social media platforms. Take us inside like a Meta right now when this is going on. What are they doing?
Oh, I mean, I don't claim to know everything that goes on, but you know that this is a team working tirelessly right now to get their services back online. You're talking about millions of dollars a minute being lost in terms of advertising.
Explain that to them. Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're an advertising-driven company, so if your advertising is not being served, therefore people are probably not being charged, and you're losing, like I said, millions of dollars of revenue every minute that is not up. So that's probably why you saw Facebook get itself back up first. Because that's Facebook where up. The ads are probably primarily still.
Instagram's still down.
Last time I checked, Instagram was still down. Less ads there. There still are ads, but I'm sure it's a different platform. They do operate independently, but it also shows that there is still sort of an overarching structure because if it's not like one went down, the whole thing went down. Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Again,
it's unbelievable that it's on Super Tuesday.
Yeah, I think this should be a warning shot for the general.
Yeah,
you need to make sure that if you're one of these social media platforms that highly relies on, number one, advertising revenue coming from politics, which they had kind of gone off of, but now we're sort of back into it.
Right.
You need to really start to hammer down on making sure that people can get the information they need. Again, like I said, you had finally a moment from a Taylor Swift, which a lot of people have been talking about for months, whether she was going to say anything politically. Came out and just essentially said a very general statement this morning of, make sure that you vote for someone who represents you. I encourage you to go out vote Super Tuesday if you're in Tennessee. She's a Tennessee resident, I would assume. And also go vote if you're in one of these states. It was very generic, but you got to think that's been shared then hundreds of millions of times. And this is the time when it gets shut down.
You know, I want to say this because we had this whole, Russian interference thing. Remember in 2016, that's how it all started with the election. And it was concerns over the social media usage. So this has been a problem now, Logan, for at least 9 years. And you would think now, 9 years later, we might have figured it out.
Yeah.
But the people going after it are probably no question, they're very sophisticated.
Oh, if this does turn out to be some sort of cyber attack.
Will we know that?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, maybe they would say, they may say it. They may put out a statement. But I mean, that certainly will not cause your company to do well in the stock. You may have to. You can maybe explain that for publicly traded companies. Like, is Meta publicly traded? I believe it is, isn't it?
So, they have to explain.
You kind of have to describe why you'd lose millions of dollars of revenue.
And you said today they're losing millions of dollars.
I would assume. I mean, I can't imagine they're not. How do you survive?
Our phone lines are jamming up on a lot of different questions. Let's go ahead and take line one.
All right, let's go to Don's calling in Oregon on line one. You're on the air, Don.
Hey, Don.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call, you guys. My question is, President Trump wins the 2024 election, and the House swings back to the Democrats. 2025, Trump gets sworn in, certified by the House, and they refuse to certify him. What happens then?
Well, they can't refuse to. When you say refuse to certify him, once the election takes place, it's exactly what happened in 2020. You have the vice president, because he's the presiding officer of the Senate, will open up the electoral votes. Because remember, it's electoral college still that votes. You vote and then elect electors. Those electors then certify it through the Secretary of State's office or the Board of Elections. And then they count the votes. It's a ministerial function. That's all the vice president can do. It's strictly a ministerial function. And you become president. They're not going to, Jamie Raskin is talking about legislation to try to, on this because of the Supreme Court decision yesterday. The thing is, there is an Insurrection Act already on the books. The problem is, Trump was never charged with it because, you know what? Jack Smith, although he likes to overcharge, wasn't going to go that far. So there is an Insurrection Act on the books. So none of that's going to get through. And if it went through the House and Senate, president could veto it, and to override that veto, I think next to impossible. But, the hysteria, we're going to get to this later, from the left on this, Logan, is unreal.
Yeah, and I think that you saw that in full force yesterday. You saw the left really come after the entire court, but specifically the liberal justices, because they felt betrayed. Now, look, we've been in a situation where we felt that some of the more conservative justices should have voted one way, and they did not. But it rarely happens on a 9-0.
No.
Usually if it's a 9-0, it's because there's a pretty set precedent that they are going to uphold, or they are going to, really push forward. But to see some of the attacks on the justices, again, the left justices, bordering on racism that was coming out of the left in the way that they were spinning these conversations.
Especially on Justice Jackson, the newest justice.
Yes, of course, specifically on her, saying that she's the sole reason that, MAGA survived, that kind of rhetoric. I don't find that good on either side. I think when you start attacking Supreme Court justices and really start sending things that are fairly threatening, we don't stand for it for the conservative justices. We don't stand for it for the liberal justices as well. I think it's disturbing. But you did see that. And you really saw the Never Trump group also really get just fuming. And these are conservatives.
Including Mike Ludig, who I like and was a judge on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, who said this case was a slam dunk, that Colorado got it right. Colorado got it wrong. They were never right. A state cannot create chaos in an election, and all 9 justices, from the most conservative to the most liberal, said you can't do it. So, they let their anti-Trump bias get in the way of their better judgment.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take another call. Let's go to Donna in Washington. I can give you my voting scenario, too. Donna, you're on the air.
Hi. I'm wondering if what King County is doing, I don't know if it's other counties, but at least King County in Seattle, on our primary ballot, they put on the part that would go into the ballot box, has our name, and requires that we identify which party we're voting for. I'm wondering what that does with the integrity of the primary.
Look, I think you're going to have a lot of those questions. I don't know specifically about your situation. You can comment on that? I can give you even what you had to do here in Tennessee, which was a little odd. They've changed it. It was different than it was in previous years.
Well, you go to Tennessee, and then I'll answer Donna's question.
Tennessee, it used to be you walked in and you had to declare your party. You don't have to declare your party to vote. You have to pick your party to vote. I could have voted in the Republican or the Democrat.
It's open.
Primary. But they used to make you say it out loud. And it was kind of an awkward moment where they made you declare. You kind of thought this person judging you. Now they have you point to a picture of a printout that they have that says Republican or Democrat, and you point. They go, please don't say it, point. And this is what happened to me this morning. So I had to do this awkward point and hope they gave me the right one. They're trying to figure out, I think, how to adjust these things. And it's like,
how about the way we've done it for 100 years?
Yeah.
You go in and you vote. Yeah. This is and Donna, the problem that you have is the same thing that Logan just mentioned. It puts you in these weird scenarios where you're either having to call your party affiliation and publicly announce it, or it's on the outside of the envelope with who you're voting for, or at least what party you're voting for. And, voting was supposed to be anonymous.
Well, I even thought this.
The whole thing with voting was anonymous.
So today, another situation is here in Tennessee is you voted. It then gives you a printout, so there is a backup.
Yeah.
Then I went to take it, and they're like, you feed it into this machine, but there is a person standing right there. And it says it's not like it's coded. It says, here's who you voted for and everything. I'm like, that person definitely read who I voted for. Not definitely, but it didn't feel like they didn't.
This is why voter integrity, this is why voter integrity is such a big issue. And that's why we're fighting for all these issues at the ACLJ.